What's up? I'm Annabelle Hasselbeck, back again with Kasey Hudson. It's been a minute. This is Respect Her Game. We got a very fun show for you all today. Probably one of my favorite rundowns that we've had all summer because we get to talk championships, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, softball World Series, and some new news in the NWSL with the new Boston team. So we'll all get to that. But first, Kasey, what's going on?
I know. I feel like I haven't seen you in weeks, but like we are always chatting via text message and emails about shows, even if I'm not on them. And then it's like, no, Kasey and AB back at it.
I love it. And I love your red. You look amazing.
You.
And you have the little Red Sox logo on it,
We've got
too.
some Red Sox coverage on Nesson tonight, unobstructed views. So I get to hang out with Alana, Jared, and Papelbon. So it's going to be a long, fun evening. But so had to sport the Red Sox gear. And I'm coming off a vacation, which feels so weird.
Woo-hoo, finally,
haven't taken a proper vacation in 2.5 years, I would say.
Wild.
It's so crazy.
Treat yourself, Kasey.
For real. It was time. It was time, AB. And you know this industry. It's hard to step away because you feel like you're going to miss something. And obviously you miss something. Like I wasn't here for the new Bruins head coach and all these things. But then you realize like you need that moment. And then when you do, you're just like, you're so excited to hit the ground running. So like you said, like couldn't love this rundown more. Get to be back here chatting with you. Mom came into town. I think I have officially become a New Englander. Like when she was throwing her jacket on because it was cool outside, I was like, oh no,
I'm good.
This is perfect.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I know you went a few places, but if you had to give me and maybe our listeners one recommendation, maybe it was a restaurant, maybe just a town that you went to, what would you tell us?
That's such a great question because we went to Maine on Tuesday and we went and saw like the Cliff House area, had a great lunch, and it's gorgeous out there. It's funny how different everything is. Like there was parts of Maine that just reminded me of Malibu. My dad lives in LA obviously, so I've been out there a couple of times. But then Rhode Island, Newport, it has this very agricultural feel. You see a lot more farms and ranches, and like everybody knows I'm a military brat, but my stability was both of my godparents had ranches, so that's always going to be like a soft spot for me.
You got the wildest background, Kasey. You got everything insane under your belt.
I have lived 12 and a half lives, and people think it sounds like crazy and made up. No, honestly,
no,
it's
but
just
you can
my
speak
life.
To everything, really.
Yeah, thank my parents for that.
Good, I love that.
But we went sailing on Thursday, and like that's so much more common up here. And then we got a chance to like pop around some of the ranches and then go over to Castle Hill Inn and do like a cute little lunch. So I think I'm gonna sway towards Newport. I think everybody needs to visit Newport at least once.
Good. Okay. Well, that'll be my next visit, so I'm excited about it.
You.
But you said, like you said, the rundown. Let's get to it. We have a lot of basketball to cover in the NBA Finals. OKC tied up the NBA Finals series with a big win against Indiana last night. They were able to postpone back-to-back losses, which really I was like, okay, if you could blow that lead, like maybe like what we saw in game one, and they were able to hold on in the fourth quarter. But even though that was the last game last night, we have to go back to game one because that game was absolutely wild.
Breathtaking.
Definitely something that we'll probably see again more in these series. So just to get there, Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers made their fifth postseason comeback after trailing from a 15-point deficit. And trailing from 15 points regardless and coming back is crazy, but to do that 5 times in the postseason, like I can't even believe that's a record.
Oh, I can't believe it either, especially because I feel like some of the themes that we're seeing with teams pushing to have these comebacks, they're just trying to load up and get those 3-pointers. And like sometimes you hear about coaches talking about like not getting too cute with things, just getting the job done. So for their ability to just continue to cut at 15-point deficiencies and make it seem easy and to do it up against, the final seconds, 3 seconds, it just speaks to, I think, the talent, but more so the composure on this team. I think that's something that's been really cool about watching the Pacers, more specifically Halliburton, is he has no sweat. He doesn't
sweat. You're not tired.
He's not sweating anything, like no sweat, no nothing. And he just looks so cool, calm, collected, and composed, unbothered. I mean, I say that about the Panthers when we talk hockey and stuff, but like Pacers have that same vibe about them, and so does Halliburton. Like he's that guy who's like, screw how many seconds are left up here. Like I got to hear that last buzzer before I think that we've been defeated.
The Pacers got the ball with 9 seconds left. And even then there was no panic. And even when Halliburton hit the shot, he just had a very yep, that's what I meant to do. I was like waiting for this like crazy reaction when he hit the shot, and he just kind of had this like, I got it face to him, which is just mind blowing, and especially with 0.3 seconds left on the clock. So I bet you, I can't even imagine what was going through OKC's minds. I mean, just like the defeat that sets in. But they were able to reclaim that and redeem that in game 2. But here's Tyrese Halliburton on that game winning moment after the game.
Yeah, I think our conversation was more of a hypothetical because we thought Pascal got fouled there. You know, I was surprised there wasn't a call there. You know, we didn't really know. You know, with time on the clock, we saw it reset to 14 rather than a full shot clock. So at first we were talking about, do we trap twice and foul? And then we said, okay, there's a difference on the clock. Let's just be solid, get a stop, and then rebound and run. And, you know, Obi came up with it. I don't even know who came up with the rebound. I just know the ball ended up in Obi's hands, and then he passed it to me. So I thought we just did a great job of sticking with it and just, you know, staying solid. You know, and in that situation, we had a couple dumb fouls. I had a couple dumb fouls there late in the fourth set to the free throw line. But we just, you know, showed our chest. We're solid. Had to get a big rebound there. That's a big rebound, especially with the guys on the court they have with Dort and Caruso crashing the glass. And, you know, we got the rebound and just made a play on the offensive side. So, yeah, I'm obviously confident in my ability and feel like if I can get to, you know, that spot, I feel very comfortable in there. Yeah, just, you know, it's a shot I've worked on a million times and I'll work on a million times more. So, yeah, we just have confidence in that shot.
Well, it's very clear that he has worked on that shot a million times because that looked effortless, really. And like he said, the rebounds were so crucial because you don't get that rebound right off the bat. You also don't push it up the court quick enough. You lose a second, and that shot was scored with 0.3 left on the clock. So just to see the hustle that the Pacers had, I think is next level, and I think that's what's going to win you the championship.
Yep.
Obviously, they have to get back to that in Game 3 coming up, but I was really impressed just with his calm, cool collectedness, especially in such a short amount of time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and he said it there. He's like, stay silent. And I mean, I don't think that means silent in terms of their communication out there on the court. I think that means silencing their minds, silencing overthinking the process, kind of leaning on what they've executed in practice, what they know they're capable of doing, and just taking that moment to show up and exist and execute versus like anything else. Because if anything, it looked like it was very non-silent when it came to OKC. You kind of saw some of their defleeting moments. You kind of saw where they were psyching themselves out a bit when the pace of the game was getting away from them. And it doesn't take the Pacers kind of speeding things up or trying to change anything to kind of force OKC out of their structure. It was just that ability to keep showing up and to manage the game and just to be so unbothered. I can't think of a better word. And I think he talks faster than the pace of his heart rate was probably even going in that moment,
great
honestly.
Conditioning. Whoever the Pacers trainer is, you're doing an amazing job. But just like you said, like managing the game, he talked about, hey, like, okay, what's the situation going to be? You know, you have to know what the fouls are, how much time's on the clock, where's the ball going to be at? Are we going to get the rebound? Like what's going to happen with the shot, right? And so those are all like little game time situational things that the best teams are able to figure out either in a timeout or just on your own individually and get everyone else on the same page. Because if you don't call a timeout, you just got to go and you got to hope and pray that all of your teammates are on the same page.
Yeah, and speaking of same page, I think that there were some moments, I think you just mentioned rebounds a moment ago. Siakam was a key guy in terms of like not only coming up with key blocks for this team, but also some of the rebounds that you kind of saw OKC sitting back on, assuming that they had it. Like Siakam was in the mix to make sure that that rebound was going back to the Pacers and making sure it kept them in play and possession. So there was just so many consistent moments of management, as you mentioned, and of just these game time decisions and composures that they did so well. And to think that a lot of that really ramped up the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. We're talking about under 3 minutes.
Right, which worked. And even watching Game 2 last night, I was like, okay, even though Pacers are down 17, you can never count them out. And I think that's what's exciting. That's why fans want to watch. But it's also real. Like, they've proven that they can make comebacks, especially with Halliburton. But there was something that we noticed that was a little different about Halliburton's press conference in Game 1. He had his debut shoes on the table right next to the mic. And I can't imagine better marketing than this. I mean, these were his Puma Halley ones, and if I'm a young kid, Pacers fan, and I watch that game, I see his performance, and then he comes out, oh, you know, it was the shoes, I think he tweeted, right? Like, you can't ask for a better marketing pitch.
No, not at all. I mean, you hit the game-winning, what was it, a jump shot, and then before you know it, he's like, so one thing changed out there for me, by the way, and it just happened to be, I feel like that's so NBA. Like, if you have a moment and you have the ability to be like, oh, no, there's something on the market. My name's attached to.
The secret to the sauce today, and pointed to the shoes right in the middle of his press conference. But you're right. Like, it's such an amazing way to be able to promote something as well. But you have to, you got to put the money where the mouth is, and that's what he did in that game, in Game 1. And yeah, I mean, I don't love the color. It's like
I was going to say, what was your vibe on the shoe?
I love pink. Pink is definitely my favorite color. But it was kind of like a salmon pink. If I remember correctly from the photo, it was like a salmon pink. Probably not my favorite. I do like when the color matches the team uniform, though. Like, I'm all about that.
I am a big, like, all about matching kind of person. Or, like, so we've talked about it before here on Respect Your Game, like how your team at Boston College, like, you guys had your playoff color. Yes. That's different. You know what I mean? I don't mind the pop when it's like, this is for something so specific. Because I did that a lot in soccer. And it was the same as you guys' playoff color. But, yeah, like, every night, like, he's just going to be out here with, like, salmon kicks on and hoping that it's just going to be like the level up. Now, I believe if I'm not having an eye situation here, coming back from vacation, that they are Puma. And that was like the only reason I was like kind of on board with it, because I was a bit of a Puma gal when I played soccer.
That was your cleat?
Puma King was like the cleat, and they had this like poison pink pair, and it was just like lining. It was like a black cleat, pink lining, and it was so sick. And I used to, like tournaments, I used to bet with my mom whether or not I could get the cleat or not. That was the only way I got new shoes. There was only one pair of Nikes that overcame the Puma King. But when I saw Puma, I was like, okay, he might be onto something here. But I didn't like the color either. I prefer him to match or just do a different color.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll see. There's a few more games left, and hopefully more game-winning moments that he could pull out. You know, a new colorway.
More comebacks.
Yeah, right. No call. Yes. Well, that was the comeback kids in Indiana, so we won't have to wait too long for another finals game. The Indiana Pacers will play Game 3 on Wednesday night, and we're looking forward to that. But we have another finals game tonight, Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Panthers just tied up the series against the Oilers, and it's the Panthers who are up next at home in Florida. So, Kasey, just what have you thought about this series so far?
This is what you want when you watch the Stanley Cup Finals, and I feel like it's that much more thrilling considering like the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. They were kind of underwhelming. You know, you didn't get the level of compete and excitement and drama that you typically would want in those conference finals heading into a Stanley Cup. And on top of it, it's a rematch. You know, last year we saw both of these teams go behind 3 games a piece and then push it to a Game 7. Now I like this trade-off of victories, and to do it in such overwhelming fashion is fantastic. I mean, you have an overtime Game 1, you have double overtime Game 2. You couldn't ask for not only better hockey, but more hockey, and the fact that these teams just have certain moments where they blueprint one another, which is why it's so difficult. So it's truly anyone's game by the end of the night, and it's just been like, this is what you want to watch in a Stanley Cup
It's
final.
been so fun. As fans, we're like, thank you.
Yes.
They probably don't like it as individual teams. Are like, man, this is taking a lot more time on my body. It's exhausting. But it is fun to watch. It's also exciting when you have a lot of goals being scored in the games.
That part I didn't really. Game 1, sure, but I did not expect like another high-scoring game for Game 2.
Right. It's been fun. And I think one of my favorite plays was Connor McDavid's dangles and then assist in Game 2. I don't watch that much hockey consistently, but I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, that was the filthiest play I've ever seen. It was absolutely wild. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip that play. I'm going to send it to you. So when next year in the winter, when you start doing your skating lessons again,
see if I can.
Yes, I want to see if you can do it. I want to see if Kasey. I think there was like 2 moves in it. No, there was a toe drag in there at some point. I think you can do it though.
There was a lot. I mean, look, Connor McDavid moves so quickly, but when he does destructive, foul, filthy plays like that, the whole world slows down. Like everything slows down.
It looked so effortless.
It did. And to think like he's working off of a rolling puck. It wasn't even like the prettiest puck to be doing all this movement on. And you're just like, this is dumb. This is why this guy is not only a generational talent, but the best in the league. You're giving me a lot to work up to.
I think you can do it. Listen, you have time. You definitely have time. Okay. It's going to get warm. You're probably not. Are you still doing the skating right now?
I am.
Okay, so listen, I'm going to send it over after the show. We'll see if Kasey.
I tweeted just to put that play on repeat. So just for you, Abby.
Hey, and if not, I'm sure there are a lot of people in this building at Nesson who can Photoshop and help you like put your face on
Our digital team is going to be
Our digital team is going to be helping Kasey. But I think what is really interesting to me, at least, is it still feels really weird to see Marchand and in a Panthers uniform and doing really well. And so Panthers, congratulations. You guys are feeling really great about your postseason moves and having him in your repertoire. But yeah, it's been weird, and just two great breakaway goals from him in Game 2, which is incredible. But yeah, it's still, I'm like still a little, my brain's a little confused, honestly.
I honestly I still don't like it. And as we know, new to the Boston area and grew up in Florida, but I do not root for the Panthers. And it's so weird to me. And then the worst part about it is just how much the fan base has gravitated towards him. And you want to see that, obviously. Players deserve to be celebrated playing the hardest sport there is out there. But it's just weird. Like, they're talking about him like he's always been theirs, you know? So you just kind of have that, like, ex remorse. The new kid comes in and the
new kid becomes friends with your old best friend from growing up. And you're like, that was my friend first.
Exactly. That's what I'm feeling every time I see something and I hear something. But no, I'm super psyched for his success there. I still don't want the Panthers to win. I think he's almost accomplished his 50% of play to where the Bruins can still get their first round draft pick. But it's just... He's always had a larger than life, played bigger than himself capability, and you see that can translate to any roster, which is super cool. So happy for him, happy for his success, and then obviously it's so great to see his mom's awesome reactions. Like, I loved when they had the mom's trip for the Bruins, and we saw like Marchand's mom just completely emulate him and all the quirks that he has in his personality, and she's still at it for him in a Panthers sweater.
Hey, you need support in all areas, not just from fans, but from your family is super important. And he's really rising to the occasion. I think we have a graphic of this, but Marchand leads all active players in the Stanley Cup Finals in goals, which is absolutely wild. So you know that the Panthers are more than happy about this, and they're definitely saying, "What's that TikTok sound? I'm the owner of this house." That's definitely how they feel about Marchand right now. But just looking at Game 3, what are you most excited for, and maybe what are your predictions for the game tonight?
Oh, well, I'm most excited. First of all, to see if we go into another overtime. Again, these two teams are just kind of going tit for tat when it comes to scoring and capability. There are some question marks when it comes to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins suiting up for the Oilers, and that can be dangerous because the Oilers have had the capability of switching up things with their lines. They've had the capability of having McDavid and Draisaitl on different lines so that both of these guys can be the driving forces to get scoring going, and Nugent-Hopkins has just been spectacular in terms of, like, he was leading with helping generate rush opportunities, and they're not a big rush team, but it just serves up different looks when you need it, and that's what the Oilers have done so well. They've changed the hand that they have to deliver to their opponent, and I don't think Nugent-Hopkins gets enough credit for that, so hopefully he's a go. If not, it's going to change some things for the Oilers. When on the other flip of the coin, AV, you got the Panthers getting AJ Guerrier back in the lineup, and while he doesn't have like a totality of 5, 10, 15 goals, he has been the sneaky goal scorer when the Panthers get a little flat or need somebody else to deliver a hand in scoring. And more importantly, he's there, he's adding hits, so the Panthers can come in a bit more physical tonight, and that's kind of their key, wear down their opponent. And even though the Oilers go tit for tat on most occasions with that, losing Hyman, who was their leading hit guy, is going to hurt. So it's going to be interesting to see what the dynamic is with a team getting a player back and with a team potentially losing a key asset, and if that's going to change momentum either way. But I want to see if this goes in another overtime. I want to see more McDavid magic. And honestly, we don't talk enough about him unless he's scoring goals. But Leon Draisaitl is literally right up there in the conversation of a magician on the ice. I mean, you have to be superiorly skilled to match tempo with a guy like Connor McDavid and to get a read on a play that he's going to make happen out of nowhere. So it's going to be good hockey overall, but it's going to come down to what guys are in or out of the lineup for me.
It's been beautiful hockey, and I think that's what's been cool to see is just the skill plays that that didn't just like come up. They didn't just happen. Those were hours and hours and hours practiced in their private time, in group settings, at practice, in the off season that you get to see really come to fruition. And not everyone's making those plays, so it's been cool. But I do want to touch on what you said just about the hits, because Panthers are at home. You know that they're going to be able to bring that aggression.
They show off in front of their crowd.
Definitely. You just imagine the atmosphere that they're going to have, and that's a crowd that knows how to win, so they know what it takes for them, and they got to do their part too and bring the energy. So I'm excited about that. But I think just with the amount of goals that have been scored, I'm excited to see who steps up between the pipes.
Yeah.
What goalie is able to, really make the stops that need to be made in those overtime plays, because we might see an overtime game or even just in the third period. So I think I'm going to go with Bobrovsky just because it is a home game and just the energy that he'll have, familiarity with that rink, if I had to guess. But I'm not sure. I think that's where I'm going to go.
I love it, AB. I love it. It's funny, too, because I remember, of course, I was there covering the Lightning, so I had every reason to just completely, be to disregard the Panthers.
Right.
But their goal song is stupid catchy, and that building vibrates. Like, you're feeling the entire building shake. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of like techno-y song, but it's different from a lot of like, and it's consistent for all the guys. Whereas like most of the time you have like, we had different guys with different scoring songs and stuff. They have one, it's this techno-y, it's very South Florida, but the whole freaking building just shakes. It's annoying and electrifying all in one. So I could see all of that playing into it, and you can tell Bobrovsky feeds off of the home crowd energy, and to think that you won a game 7 on that ice and you're back in a similar position. It might not be game 7, but every game is going to be crucial in this rematch because the Oilers have a lot more to prove in terms of getting this second chance. So I think that is going to play favorably. And again, Guerrero coming back to the lineup, it's going to switch things for them in a momentous way. I don't know why. I keep gravitating towards the Oilers. Maybe just
you want it to go back and forth. It's more fun that way.
I do. I want the disruption. I want this to go all the way to 7 games. I want it to trade victory for victory. And honestly, like, the Oilers started to get more attention in terms of like their delivery when it comes to depth, and like having a guy like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins either not be like up to par or coming in, injured and banged up and maybe not be able to, play to his full capacity or not be in the lineup. That's where you're really going to see what this team has. And like, as much as the Panthers are great at comebacks, the Oilers have had the most insane comebacks, I would say, in terms of like this postseason. So I want to see if they can continue that flair. And Stuart Skinner catches a lot of heat. I admit I've been one of the people that have given him some of that. Kindly, everyone. I just say that I don't trust him sometimes. But I want to see him have a stronger game, and I want to see the Oilers kind of pick up some traffic in front of Bobrovsky, make him uncomfortable. You saw 2 really good mid-range goals out of the Oilers, and I think that they can replicate that considering they have some of the top hockey IQ players on their roster.
Let's go. Well, it will probably be a back-and-forth game, like you're saying.
We got Team Panthers and Team Oilers.
Right,
so
we'll see. We won't have to wait long for it. That game is tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And when we come back, we've got some new news with the Boston Legacy, the newest NWSL team in Boston. We previewed it the other week, but you won't want to miss this crest reveal back on Nesson. When we come back, stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to RHG, and we talked about this on a prior episode, but we finally get to show the unveiled crest of the Boston Legacy's new team here in the city. We're so excited about it, and it is a swan as the logo on the shield. The swan has 8 feathers on the wing to symbolize the original 8 teams of the NWSL in 2013, which included the Boston Breakers, which is a little bit of a full circle moment. And on the wing the wings are supposed to represent the Zakim Bridge, which is a notable landmark in the city here in Boston. I actually had a train set growing up that was the Zakim Bridge that I would like build like my siblings. So I'm like, this is super fun for me selfishly, but super excited that we finally get to do this. There was a huge crowd out at the Boston Common on Saturday for this unveiling, but there were food trucks, there were giveaways and speeches, but really people came to see this new logo. So Kasey, just looking at it, the new swan, the new logo, what are you thinking?
I love all the intricacies that are in this, especially considering like not being a Boston or New England native. Like it makes you gravitate towards it in a way to like learn more about it and support this team and be excited about it. So very simple, but also has so much depth to it. Fearless protector known for her style and feared for her grit. You can't hate that by any means. Like, how sick is that? And it's a swan with. So is it lime green, black, and white? Are those?
It is, and I love that you read that and how they're displaying the swan, because anytime I've gotten near a swan, those things will come at you if you try to go at them. Yes, they look like beautiful creatures, but they are also very aggressive and a little bit intimidating. But I was a little bit shocked to see a swan is my first thing, but then I thought about, I'm like, you know what? It looks really nicely graphically designed. It fits really well in the shield. So I think they did a great job just making that visually. But you're right. When I think of Boston, I do think of Boston Common. I do think about the ducklings and the swans that you'll see anytime you go to those ponds. So I think it's great, and also to get that little tidbit of the Zakim Bridge in there is fun too.
Yeah, I think I like the eloquence of, like you said, like a swan. It's beautiful to look at, but you don't realize like how protective a swan is and how you don't want to get too close.
Don't find out. No, we don't want to find out.
Do not find out. So yeah, for the intricacy and the depth of it, I like it. As a I say previous soccer player as if I played at a high level. I did not. But as a former soccer player, I like things that have such steep meaning to it. And I like those dual meanings and whatnot. But I think it's extra cool that they put it in a crest, because a crest just speaks to legacy, no play on words there. It speaks to kind of creating a new tradition or embracing something. Like a crest has so much more finality in its meaning. So it's really cool to think that they put something that looks delicate to the eye, has layers to it in this crest. So different, but very cool.
I'm excited too, just because I've taken a lot of photos down in Boston Common, whether it was prom, it was a college, ball that we did, Christmas photos, and right underneath the bridge in the pond in Boston Common is beautiful.
Really?
And there's swans all like swimming around, hanging out. I'm like, they got to do a photo shoot with the players in their jerseys, kind of like different lighting under the bridge. I can so see them like standing like this under the bridge in Boston Common with like the jerseys on and the green and the trees. I think it'll all go together.
Now this is all making so much more sense.
It's
to
not
me.
a thing yet, but
it
if
could
the legacy
be,
want to do the photo
be.
shoot, we'd love to talk about it.
There you go. See, you're always giving out free marketing ideas
Yeah,
here.
what is this? I need to switch my job or something.
I was going to say, you gotta get contracts out there.
NWSL and the WNBA. I got a lot of new marketing ideas for you, I guess.
everyone.
But
You're welcome.
It was an awesome ceremony and really excited, just I think for me personally, about the rebrand of this team, because they really needed a total 180 for the messaging of this NWSL team. So here's Boston Legacy's GM, Dome Gwask, at the ceremony.
Building a great team culture will be essential to our success. We don't need to create a new culture, we just need to adopt it. Boston is a champion culture. I personally look forward to having you all watching and cheering for our team in the stands that will be playing a beautiful and aggressive football, just like how beautiful and aggressive our Swan is. Let's go!
Yeah, beautiful and aggressive Swan. But that was the home run quote by Gauff. He said, we don't need to create a new culture. We just need to adopt it. Boston is a champion culture. And that was 100% brand redemption in 2 sentences for me. And that's what we've been talking about really since Boston Nation came out. They needed a 180, because that whole brand, that whole marketing pitch, all the messaging was, we're the new team in town. We want to disassociate ourselves with the male sports teams in Boston,
right,
which is in itself crazy even just to say out loud. And here, they're doing the complete opposite, which is perfect. They're saying, no, we want to attach ourselves to the championship culture in the city of Boston.
Yes.
And we're naming the fact that we're joining it and we want to be a part of it, rather than like, oh, we're totally different, we don't want to be a part of this, and here's a reason why you need to respect us. I think this is incredibly honorable in how they've rebranded it, and really the 180 that they needed.
Yeah, and I mean, I love how you painted the picture of like what they tried to do and failed, and why that needed a change, and obviously how he adds to that in terms of adopting the culture. But I think one of my favorite things about getting acclimated here in Boston and New England is, and I've talked to the guys about it in production a lot, it's just knowing and respecting how smart Boston fans are. But it's not just how smart they are, it's how passionate they are, and it's how dedicated they are. And like, to come from such an area with so much history, so much legacy outside of championships, it's just like what this community is as a whole. You don't want to disrespect it, you want to embrace it. And you don't get a chance to embrace that in every other city around here. I mean,
you don't want to rep the other teams. You're like, I'm actually embarrassed to rep that team because they're not good or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see people wear Red Sox jerseys to Patriots games, Celtics jerseys to a Red Sox team. Like, they're interchangeable.
It all loops around, and it just all comes from being a diehard, passionate, traditional fan. You know, it's loving and dedication to the community. So it's so wild to think that they came out one way, but I think they found
Redemption.
They found themselves. Yes, they
Definitely.
found themselves. But it's put perfectly. Adopt the culture, and even more than that, adopt the culture, commit to the culture, embrace the culture, and you can rebrand within it, but don't try to separate yourself from it.
And they're really getting on board, just as a city, literally, no pun intended, getting on board, because the duck boats have been decked out in the legacy attire. Here is a duck boat getting all painted up, dialed up, the new logo, the new crest, and I can't think of a better way to like market, especially during the summertime with these duck boats going around. Have you ever been on a duck boat?
I have not, but funny we're even talking about this today. My mom and I were down in Beacon Hill at the end of the week last week, and as I'm like pulling out to find parking, I just see these like unique looking boats on wheels at the light, and me and my mom are sitting there and we're like, what the heck is this?
Oh, you had never seen a duck boat?
I had never even seen it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No.
You gotta
Like,
get Kasey
when
on a
you
duck
go to
boat.
the swamps and the Everglades in Florida, you're on a different kind of boat. That's for sure. But I've never seen a duck boat, and that was my first experience seeing it.
I will say I did a few of them growing up in Seattle, Washington. That was a huge tourist
Is
thing in that
this
city.
just to go look at ducks?
It's lit. Well, no. So
Okay.
it's a city. It's not to look at ducks, but you're gonna see ducks on your tour. But it's called a duck boat. I'm not sure why it's called a duck boat.
Okay.
But you basically just go through the city. It'd be like a tour bus, and you go through the city. And then the big thing about the duck boat is that it can go from being a bus basically to a boat.
Oh.
So it goes. But that part is always freaks me out. Every
So it's
time
almost
I'm on
like if a double decker could float.
1,000%. That was
Okay.
the perfect way to describe it. So maybe we got to get the next Respecter game on a duck boat. We can film from the duck boat, but I do get kind of nervous whenever I've been on the duck boat when they go into the water. I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't understand how this is going to be
Dry land to wet land, and we're okay.
But that's so funny that you never even seen a duck boat before.
No, never saw. I mean, I'm telling you, if anybody could have seen my mom and I's reaction, we're at the light. I mean, I was so distracted. I'm pretty sure somebody honked at me because I missed the light because I was just like, what is this?
that?
And it wasn't just one of them. It was like 4 of them. And I did read, I think on the side of one of them, the first one I saw was red, and it was like, can also go in the water as well as land or something like that. It had some sort of inscription saying that. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? Like this, it just, maybe in the moment of everything, it felt apocalyptic, but it was cool after the fact. My mom and I were like, oh, that's different. That's
we gotta get a few legacy duck boats, right? I think honestly though, like those things cruise over the summer. You have a lot of people coming in, college tours, people just want to check out the city of Boston. It's a hot place. And so I really do think if we can get some more of those legacy duck boats, I think it'll be great for marketing, get people excited about the 2026 season. Hey, maybe throw some fleet duck boats in there too.
I would love
maybe we get the whole team on a duck boat, the whole legacy team on a duck boat. I think that'd be pretty fun.
I think that'd be fantastic.
Because Kasey's never been.
Exactly. They can be our tour guide for
Yes.
Respect Her Game. I think that's the best episode. That would be one of the best episodes yet. I think that'd be so cool.
Well, I'm excited. We gotta get on the duck boat. But when we come back, we'll get you up to speed with the new softball queens in town. Hook 'em, Texas Longhorns bringing home the hardware in the championship. So stay tuned when we come back for new softball news. Well, Kasey and I took that break to learn everything you need to know about duck boats. So if you have any questions, make sure to hit us up.
I think we're experts now.
Now we are experts in that 2-minute break. But we have a lot of softball to get to, and the new champions, Texas. It was the Battle of Texas in the NCAA Softball World Series, and the Longhorns took home the national championship in a dominant 10-4 Game 3 win against Texas Tech for their first title in school history. And the Longhorns got 5 runs in just the bottom of the first inning, so they came out hot right away, and no question about it. But Texas actually lost to Oklahoma in the championship in 2022 and 2024, so it definitely felt good for them to get back on top in this game.
Oh my gosh. AB, I love a poetic win. And what's more poetic than getting past anyone that has made you feel like you cannot earn a championship? And no, they didn't play Oklahoma in the championship, but they had to beat them out on their way there. And I'm sure that alone was where they were like, this is our year. I
100%.
think, you've played college lacrosse at a high level and national championship. And I think that there's a moment in that season where you're just kind of like, this feels different. This feels like it's ours. And I think that they had that moment getting past Oklahoma, or at least I would.
Definitely. And there was a quote within this World Series, and I can't remember who exactly made it, but they said, like, we got to take down the man if we want to get to the championship. And that was Oklahoma, who they were talking about, the man, the 4-time national championships, consecutive 4-time national champions. And I think, if anything, getting over that hump past Oklahoma, that has to feel like Goliath. That had to feel like just a rock to swallow. Not a pill, a rock to swallow. And when they were able to do that, I can just imagine how that really propelled them to basically, go to Texas Tech and just not have that, same fear factor that they did with Oklahoma in being that giant.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think you and I have talked about it when we did March Madness stuff. Like sometimes when the rest of the school athletics are thriving on a different level, it just kind of translates into other programs and stuff. And not to make it about anything other than softball right now, but Texas football has been getting a lot of love and a lot of attention, that much more support and push through. And I mean, they were expected to play in a national championship themselves before falling short. So kind of when that momentum can translate to another program and the support can switch over there, it's great to see how supported they are by other college athletes there at Texas, but more importantly, like you said, getting past Goliath, having the backing of the entire school, of the entire city, and then finally being able to collect on something after so much time coming. Like, it has to be amazing. And we're living now, I'm not the biggest fan of some of these NIL situations. I think that there needs to be a little bit more polishing to the guidelines on them, but you're also talking about 5 girls that are top 30 when it comes to NILs who can just make a case for like solidifying better contracts, endorsements, sponsorships, collaborations with that championship. So a lot to add to it.
Yeah, and new news in the NCAA with the whole NIL thing. Definitely doesn't feel like that did much besides just open the gates even more. When I was reading, I was like, wait a second, it's like breaking news. I'm like, wait, but that's what's going on.
We didn't tame anything.
No taming going on. But it did really open the gates for more conversation about all the NIL. I mean, that was really heavy throughout the broadcast, which is kind of a controversial topic. But I know Patrick Mahomes and his wife was at the game supporting Texas Tech, and a special shout out to Najeri Kennedy, who is a transfer from Stanford to Texas Tech. She's that $1 million NIL transfer pitcher who really helped bring her team to the national championship. So definitely, took her opportunity and did the most with it. So super exciting, and we're proud of her in that way. But like you said, this NIL, it is getting completely out of control just with the amount that athletes are making. I definitely think athletes need to be compensated in some format for sure. But just out of curiosity, like with the perspective of, you have these female athletes who are at the top of their game playing on the highest stage in the World Series, but then it almost was dominated by that conversation of NIL. And I know a lot of people were saying, hey, when we watch college football playoffs, we're not talking about the NIL that these guys are making. And I see both sides to it, because I see, yes, we want to honor like the actual X's and O's, the actual play that these women are competing in and the successes that they're having on the field. At the same time, it's new for women to be getting paid in the way that they are. So yes, it is newsworthy to be talking about the NIL contracts that these women are making. And also, like, that's a new present thing in the NCAA sports. So it's almost like, we got to talk about it, and maybe it will bring more light to the situation.
Yeah, I think it was a timing thing in terms of like maybe why it became so heavy in the conversation, because like you said, we got the news about, you got somebody collecting $1 million in NIL, and it's another softball player and stuff. But I agree to the fact that like you don't want it to overshadow the athleticism and the compete that these women are putting out. So it's a timing thing for me. I understand the news broke at that time, but like outside of it, you don't have to make it the entire broadcast. And I think that you just mentioned that so perfectly. Like, it was heavily broadcasted while you're talking about one of like the best games going on for these women. So I think it just needed a degree of separation. 100%. Pre-game, mention it, break it down, get everybody up to speed, focus on the game during the game, because you don't have that same distraction heavily intertwined when it comes to the male sports. And I think that that's where they can, be proud that they're making great money regardless of how astronomical it is.
Right. And it's going to become more normal. And so maybe that will help, take down that conversation and more up in the women's game. But just to see it from that outsider perspective, it's not something that we've seen often. So yes, it has to be talked about, but also you don't associate college football quarterbacks with the NIL that they're making. You associate it with their play, and you associate it with how their team is doing, right? And what they're projected to go in. And yes, that helps when there's transfer. You have to know, why did he go from Tennessee to UCLA? Oh, because he got $1 million.
Exactly.
Like, obviously, that's newsworthy things, but I think that's a great perspective that you have with the timing on it. But that's just Texas Tech. So let's get to the winning team, because Texas brought home a huge win for the Longhorns. So here is Texas Reese Atwood and Katie Stewart after the game.
So talk to me about facing Nyjah, right? Third game in a row. What are those conversations like? You guys started to tattoo her a little bit in the end of that second game. Coming back today in game 3, what was the message to the hitters?
Yeah, Nyjah is such a great pitcher, so we had to make adjustments, and we had an extra film session this morning to be able to kind of go over our game plans and just what we need to do better as a team. So I think we just came out and we competed. We got our pitches. We weren't chasing, and just so proud of this group to be able to go 1 through 9 and get all those runs scored in the first inning. It's amazing.
Well, I bet Texas is very happy that they did that extra film session in the morning, the day of the game, because clearly it helped them take down Texas Tech.
Yeah, and those extra film sessions, I think it gives you more confidence to when your back's against the wall and you might have to readjust some things within your game or the individuality within the team sport. So the team that has the most confidence, the team that has the most composure, just like how we talked about with the NBA finals, like when you feel like you got that chip on your shoulder and you can just exhale and then execute, I think it just makes it that much easier to push forward and collect.
And sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's physical. Sometimes your team needs to loosen up. Wait, let's go play kickball. Let's go, do something. Let's do a walkthrough in that way. But sometimes coaches know, hey, my team really just needs to focus in, lock in on this one kind of more mental aspect of the game, watch film, talk about the game plan, go through the scouting report to get over that hump. But I'm so happy for Tegan Cavan, the pitcher for Texas, because we talked about her a few weeks ago. Her grandmother passed away the morning of their game against Oklahoma, and she was able to finish strong, get this national championship ring that she'll get eventually. Can't wait to see that, because I know Texas got incredible SEC rings for their women's basketball team, and that's just the SEC ring. So I can't even imagine what the Texas national championship ring is going to look like, but just so resilient by Tegan Cavan, and she was named the Women's World Series Most Outstanding Player. So super pumped for her. But here's what her teammates had to say on how proud they are of her after the game.
It's very fun to be her teammate. Very loving, kind person. Someone to miss. Someone you're going to miss a lot.
Yeah, I think too, even though she's a sophomore, she plays like she's a fifth year. I mean, it seems like she's been here for a long time. And, not many people can go out there their second year and play like a super senior. And she does that every single game. And like Max said, she's just a great person. And I mean, this week, we were kind of playing for her. She had the loss of her grandmother, and I think that just really fueled us a lot, was to go out there and play for her and just be able to say that we were able to do it.
Playing for your teammate is a very dangerous place to be in, because you know that level of motivation can really pull you ahead in ways that you probably had no idea about. So I've just loved, even press conferences beforehand after that Oklahoma game, her teammates were crying at the press conference. I mean, we watch it here on Respect Your Game, just the emotion that overtook them watching their teammate go through something really hard. Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing about sports, is even in those hard moments, you're able to have like a physical representation with a game win.
Yes.
Or a hustle play that you do, or standing up for your teammate and like going after the guy that took your guy down, right? Like I think that's a really cool part of sports that we see in those really hard moments.
Yeah, I think when you're playing with emotion, it changes your mental capability. So like in those moments, you're not thinking about what your capacity is, what your limit is, what your limit may not be. You're almost feeling infinite in a sense, because everything is fueled by the emotion of just, doing it for somebody else, or doing it for somebody that you care about, or you lost, or, I'm talking about more emotions geared away from anger. But like when you play with emotion, it just kind of adds this invincibility to it. And it doesn't mean always coming up with these tremendous plays. It just kind of means like extending yourself beyond where you would kind of mentally limit or cap yourself off. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it's really cool to see how that became such a driving force for an entire team versus like the main person who's probably playing through a lot of emotions.
Definitely. And this is no longer just like an in-state rivalry. This is no longer just like, Texas versus Texas Tech. This is Texas versus Texas Tech. Can't even talk. Texas. It's a lot of Texas. This is a lot of Texas. This is a national championship that was stolen from them, right? And so you can just imagine now the heightened elevation that this game has forever, right? Like this was the first title that Texas won. Could have been the first title for Texas Tech, if I can ever say that correctly. Here.
it's the double T. It's the TT.
Today. I was never good at the tongue twisters in second grade. All right, I have to admit, I was the multiplication queen, and that's where my math career ended. But I just am so excited to now have something to look forward to in this College World Series come next year, and come next even preseason, and in the offseason to talk about, because it's always been Oklahoma, which is a team that I love supporting. I love for what they stand for. They're a very respectable team and fun to watch. But now we have a new rivalry in town, a new heightened rivalry that people outside of Texas can cheer for.
I love the Texas full stop.
How to get that one.
You're better than me, AB, because I'd keep rolling over it and making that X a Z and a bunch of other things. But I think that is one of the cool parts about this. One of my best friends, I just told you how like I grew up with a squad of 12 12 gals. There's 8 of us now post college. And her cousin, one of my closest friends, her cousin played softball at UCLA. And when we used to go visit her, they would talk about just like the top teams out there that are impossible to get past. Not to mention is that the number of players that come out of Oklahoma that get a chance to play on Team USA and represent their nation, because that's the next step for these softball players, but it's very limited and it's hard to secure one of those spots. So you're talking about a Titan finally being challenged in a sense to where things are going to be shaking up, and it's going to change the positionings that open up for that last chance that these girls will get after college, because there's not really that top professional league that gets the acknowledgement. So it is cool to see that not only is there like the amplification of the rivalry, but now it's not going to just be all Oklahoma. It's going to be something else or a few something else's.
And great media coverage too. Like you said, the Pro League is definitely not covered at all to the extent that the NCAA World Series.
I'm sure a lot of people don't even know there's a Pro League.
No, so we'll have to talk about that here on Respect Your Game. But that's our softball talk, and when we come back, we'll hit our favorite and final segment of the show, Girl on Fire. So stay tuned with the girl that we think is popping off right now this week when we come back. All right, well, it's time for a Girl on Fire of the week. And Kasey and I were just saying we don't usually get to the Girl on Fire.
I feel like we haven't in months, honestly. Like where we both get a chance to just settle in, talk about our Girl on Fire, make our cases. I think we've picked like one a couple of times and just kind of gone with it.
Maybe we'll just stick with one Girl on Fire.
Which still counts. But
still counts. They're still thriving regardless of if we talk about them or not. But totally excited to highlight them today. So I guess I'll start. My girl that has been killing it in the world of sports right now. We're going to keep talking about women's softball. I got to go with Tegan Cavan, the Texas pitcher who we mentioned earlier. But she really deserves her flowers. She's the newest national champion. Let's go. A little clap for her. She set an NCAA record with 0 earned runs in 21 2/3 innings, carried her team to their school's first softball title, was the most outstanding player, and she's only a sophomore, which just blows my mind because now you have multiple years left to still capitalize and to still get more rings at Texas, and just to take that experience with her in that heated moment. Game 3, you're playing one of the best teams in the country and a really hyped up team as well that a lot of people were pulling for. So excited for Tegan and just that accomplishment to cap off her season.
Yeah, I mean, emphasizing on her just being a sophomore, it goes back to what you said moments ago before the break. You're talking about this team positioning themselves to continue to keep off the Titan, the juggernaut of softball, which is Oklahoma, and anybody else that comes to challenge them. Like, there's going to be a load of confidence behind like her only being a sophomore, having the display that she did in the most crucial game being the championship, and what it can entail moving forward. So I think that is super sick. But just the numbers, I mean, scoreless for, I think it was a little over 31 innings. That's a tough thing to do, and she made it look so flawless.
She did. She was dialed, and even her ponytail was dialed. They kept staring at her ponytail every game. It was like super slick back, no flaws, like long too.
Were you that girl? Were you able to keep your hair somewhat under control when you played lacrosse?
Never. It always looked terrible. At some point, I'd have my teammate braid it. I'd do the whole braid thing and then go into the ponytail. And then, I mean, even by warm-ups, I'd look at myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, I look like one of those like gnomes that you get from McDonald's in your, kids meal, whatever it's called. The hair is just like every which way possible. So no, I'm still working on that, honestly, when I work out.
It's fine. I'm pretty sure my brother told me my hair looked like a porch troll once. I tried to be so cute for a soccer game and put ribbons in my French braids because I had really long hair. And no. That just created tangles.
Didn't work.
And then the Florida humidity, it was like humidity wrapped in ribbon, wrapped in tangles, wrapped in French braids. I just needed an entire redo. So no, I was never that girl that could keep her hair looking so good while I was out there trying to kill it. But lucky for her.
Some people have that skill, and we're super happy for you in that. But Kasey, who is your girl on fire this week?
All right. Her hair didn't need to be tamed, but my gal is going to be words today coming back from vacation. Coco Gauff is killing it, and she is my girl on fire. I mean, to win the French Open, to be the first American to do it since 2015, after your idol. I mean, she's idoled the Williams sisters in terms of how she has tried to replicate parts of her game. What I love about Coco Gauff is she has talked about it over and over and over again. You can idolize somebody's play, you can look up to them, but you can also find your own game to create within something that you love. So like I mentioned, she has idolized the Williams sisters growing up, but she has just paved her own way. First big championship collected 2023 US Open. And I just remember how all of us were just so taken aback by that victory and how emotional she was, and like her dad's interview after. And she's a bit of a hard court queen, so to do it on clay is even cooler because she's still so young. But she is finding ways to have such an abstract game to where she can be versatile on some of the toughest courts. Because when you prefer hard court tennis, you're talking about a game that's a lot faster, that has a lot more punch to it. You're not dealing with too much craziness going on, extra variabilities, where clay, it slows things down. So typically that contrast, you're not always going to see success on both sides. So yes, US Open was 2 years ago, and she was close, coming up in this 2024 US Open. But I'm just so excited for her success, considering how young she is, how humble she is, how she has so much time to continue to just change her game and grow in it. But to be the first American in so long, 20 plus years is it 20 plus years? 10 plus years.
It's awesome.
It's 10.
It's stunning too, because a lot of time, 10 plus years, I was young, right?
Yeah.
When that happened, and
it's legit 10 years.
I
don't know why I math that's so hard.
You follow different things throughout your life, and it's just cool to see her raw emotion. I feel like tennis is an incredible sport because you do get those pretty recent interviews that get so close in on these athletes right after, and you get to hear their raw emotion, and it's a really hard sport. I think it probably doesn't get the daily hype that a sport like hockey or football or women's college softball has gotten in the World Series, but just to see her reaction is someone that you really want to be cheering for.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned the raw emotions, because we were talking about it in the group text with our producers. You have Aryna, who, very raw to the moment, didn't really want to give Coco credit for beating her. It was more like, I had 70 forced errors and did yeah, but sometimes big serves are going to cause you to respond with error. So there was still so many tremendous moments to Coco Gauff's game that she went back, posted on Instagram, I think it was, she put a write out, she still wants to give Coco credit and whatnot, but it's just it's that raw emotion in the moment. It's the fact that and tennis players talk to themselves. I played tennis in high school for one season. They needed an extra player. I'm not decent. But I was freaked out by how these girls, how they were just talking to themselves and yelling at themselves. But it's because of the immense amount of pressure that is felt, because it's all on you and how you react and how you respond over and over again. And I say all this to say, one of Coco Gauff's quotes is the fact that she does really well at tuning out the noise. She's not responding and reacting to everything going on outside of her game. She's not even reacting to moments where she doesn't have, great responses, great hits. And it's just so cool to, again, she's so young, she's so humble, and she already has such a huge mental strength to her to keep her career moving along.
Yeah, and you need that, especially in an individual sport that she plays. But seriously, Coco, thank you for representing the United States well. We are wearing our red and blue.
We are wearing red and blue
in honor of Coco. So thank you for doing that. And I love getting to hit the girl on fire. But Kasey, it was so fun to be back with you on Respect Her Game this week. It's always a good time, and love to talk about our girls on fire. So thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next Monday on Respect Her Game.